refused to fuck with the media, but I had to tap in with my people, man. Refuse media. That interview coming soon. They just lined me up for the free throw. You hear me? Yeah. Do be on the lookout. Oh.
All right. We got Annimeanz, man. What's good, man?
Hey, man. What up?
All good, man. Appreciate you coming through fucking with Refuse Media, man.
Yup.
Off top, man. Let's get into the interview, man. Off top, as you know, I always start off with the name. Yours being Annimeanz, I wanted to get into that, man. Like, where'd you come up with that?
Well, you know, it comes from Any Means Necessary.
Off top, yeah.
But I wanted to like just give it a different feel, so I changed the spelling up on it. It's just something I came up with one day. You know?
Okay. So no deep story behind it.
I mean, I was in prison when I came up with it, but you feel me? But you know how that goes. You know what I'm saying? Idle thoughts, and then just turned it into something. You know what I'm saying?
All right. So let's talk about where you're coming from, Cudahy, which that's LA County, right?
Yeah. That's it's in South LA. It's actually like maybe 10 minutes from here.
Okay.
It's by like Huntington Park, Southgate, and then Watts and Compton's a couple way up. It's a real small city.
Okay. And with me reading up on you, you got an interesting story. I mean, just first of all, speak about what it's like coming up in Cudahy.
Cudahy is like it's a bad city. Like, it got a real bad reputation. There's a lot of corruption in the local government right there. You know, in the era of crack, it was a crack cocaine hub, and that's where I grew up. You know, like in the motels right there. I grew up in the motels, and all they sold rock and they sold pussy right there. Now it's like pretty much just like heroin done took over it now.
Okay.
Before that, it was meth. So it's always just been like a real, you know, like the biggest dealers in that area came from where I come from. So it just was always just a hub for, you know, narcotics and shit like that, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Got a real bad reputation.
Okay. And how did you end up like migrating over there? Your parents just moved over there? Or
my mom came from an Indian reservation when she was like 21 years old.
Okay.
And she met my pops. My pops is Mexican.
Okay.
And from that Indian reservation, they transferred her like on a work program for the natives to like get them, you know, because it's real poverty stricken in some of the reservations too. So that area has an Indian center, so that's where they sent my mom, and that's how she settled right there, because there was like other Native American families there, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And they just integrated with Mexican families and all that, you know what I'm saying?
Right. No, dope. Interesting. Have you ever been to a reservation or anything?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up knowing I was Native American, so as much as I grew up in a barrio, like I grew up on the reservation in the aspect of just visiting there, knowing my family members, knowing the traditions, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like I grew up in a barrio in LA all my life, you know what I'm saying?
Dope. No, that's dope history. So, okay, and from what I understood reading up on you, both your parents were from a set too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you lost your father early. I mean, you lost him when he was in prison, correct?
Yeah. My pops, he OD'd on heroin and shit, and I was in YA at the time.
Okay.
And
so
you know, like anything, you know, pops was just out there running the mug, going to jail. You know, moms was doing the same thing. So you know, it was just kind of like.
And how was you fending for yourself in that city, surrounded with all of that?
I started selling dope real young. You know what I mean? I started selling dope probably when I started cooking rock when I was like 11, and I was running by the time I was like 12. I was really running. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Dang. Okay.
So you know, like you sell 5 get 1 type shit. You know
Okay.
So for every 100, I get a dub. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. So you was early on. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's about jump off the porch age, but you was running at
Yeah.
Okay. That's dope. Okay. Now, where did music come? That's what I wanted to get on next. When did music come into your life?
Mom, like early on, like I grew up like my mom just listening to funk, oldies. You know what I mean? Because they was essays, cholos, and so early on, like just like Mary Wells and Delphonics, Tempries, all that shit was early in my life. You know, fuck Prince, who else? Morris Day, shit like that. You know, funk shit that my moms would listen to, and you know, just early on, like getting introduced to hip hop to like my aunt. She's from my hood too, and just listening to shit like that, you know what I'm saying? Like Bobby Brown back then. You know, I'm a little bit of an older head, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I grew up listening to like LL Cool J, shit like that, you know what I'm saying?
Dope. And when did you say you wanted to put together some rhymes and want to jump in?
I mean, me and my cousin, we had kind of flirted with the idea when we was teenagers, but it was never really anything serious, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't until like I went to the pen, I ended up going to the penitentiary. And
I read something about your grandma gifted you a subscription,
yeah,
Double XL.
Yeah,
okay.
And by then I was already really, as far as just being a hip hop listener, like back then my favorite rappers, and still is like Nas, Mobb Deep. I was real heavy into like underground boom bap, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, just reading the magazines and shit, you know, and you know how it is, man. Hip hop got an atmosphere and a vibe where it's for the underdog. You dig what I'm saying? So
yeah.
You're gonna read success stories, and you kind of like, you know, you want to measure them up to yourself, cause you're trying to find a way out yourself. You know what I'm saying? So it motivated me like that, for real. You know?
Dope. Okay. So now, when you was in the pen, was you writing?
Nah, not really. Like
okay.
I never like had really started off to be a rapper. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, me and my cousin, we had flirted with the ideas, but we didn't really know anything about studios or nothing like that. So it was just kind of like one of them little things. You know what I'm saying? So and my cousin ended up going to MI, like for real. You know what I'm saying? And it was already getting close to me coming home, and he was like, "Yo, we could probably really do this shit for real. You know, I know some people." So he started encouraging me to write. You know, back then I didn't know how to write, so I was just writing like on pieces of paper, like if I was writing a letter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was just like a long ass rap, you know, because I didn't know nothing about hooks, shit like that. And then I ended up coming home, and then he knew a dude named Meech Wells, and Meech Wells, he had a studio in his bedroom, and I think he was probably living off of La Brea or something like that.
Wow.
So.
Okay. That's interesting that you said that name. Like my that's crazy. My people's, like my cousin is like his son cousin.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, that's a trip that he said that, huh? That's dope. Bro.
So
okay.
So I I met Meech Wells, and then I had raps for him and shit, and you know maybe he seen potential, whatever. So we started like paying him for studio time, right? And the first dude I ever rapped with was Badass. And yeah, you know, Badass is a good friend of mine now, but you know, he was the first dude that ever rapped with me.
Okay.
He was kind of feeling what I was doing a little bit, so you know, I paid for some studio time. He go on the record and shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And from there, just kind of like it just more and more started to become reality. You feel what I'm saying? Cause like I knew who Meech Wells was from like the old Snoop Dogg records. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I knew who Badass was from Tupac records, shit like that. So just being introduced to that off the rip, it was like, oh shit, this shit might lightweight be real. You know what I'm saying? So so after that, we just started. We made like a little minor demo, right? And then there's another dude. I don't want to seem like I'm name dropping, but these are just the people in the journey. You dig what I'm saying? Yeah. There was another dude. His name was Rick Hard, and he was throwing like independent shows. You know what I'm saying? Like people, you come with your little crowd, and you can kind of do your little thing. You know what I'm saying? So we hit that little circuit, you know, and you know, right away I think a lot of people had took notice to the way I rap because of the way I look. You dig what I'm saying? Yeah. And you know, my flow a little different. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So right away people were intrigued by that, and then I want to say I met Ill Will, and Ill Will he wasn't with Kid Ink yet. You know, he was just starting out, and I met him at a Dove show, and they was passing out CDs. So he gave me a CD, whatever. So I was like listening to it, and you know, the mixtape game was like still real big at that time. So in my mind, I'm like, I need to go get like a mixtape from a DJ. So I called Ill Will and set up like a little meeting, and he was gonna charge me like I think 150 to do the tape or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So you know, whatever, we met up. I gave him the songs, and I gave him this little dough. So he called me back like maybe 4 or 5 days later, and he was like, yo, like your shit is kind of raw, like this shit kind of ill. And I was like, oh, that's what's up. And he was like, why don't you come through, because my bro Gorilla Hot Dollar finna have a video shoot tonight. I want you to come and meet Gorilla Black. And he was like, you know who Gorilla Black is? And I was like, in my head, I'm like, fuck yeah, I know. You know what I'm saying? Because I had Gorilla Black's CD in the pen and shit. You know what I'm saying? So I knew exactly, yeah, you know. And I was like, oh yeah, cool, you know. But you just play it all smooth, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I showed up over there, and I met Hot Dollar. We hit it off. Me and Hot Dollar hit it off, like immediately almost. You know what I'm saying? And then I start fucking with Black, you know. And then I just kind of come through periodically at that point. You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't like trying to be too involved. You know, didn't want to override my welcome type shit. So you know, they just kind of was filling me out, and you know, the more they vibed with me, the more they was fucking with me. So they, you know, I eventually became a part of that family. You know what I'm saying? And man, from there I just met a lot of people. You know, I met Glasses.
That's what I wanted to get on to next. Like, how did you get with Glasses? Because I heard you like
yeah.
Your timeline is perfect. Because like right after that you start rocking with Glasses. Like how did?
Well, I still was Black for maybe about 2.5 years.
Okay.
And they created a Mexican group called Dollar Figure SA.
Okay.
And it made kind of like a cool little splash in the beginning. Because when I first met Kendrick Lamar, well, back then his name was Dot, you know. And
right.
When I met him, it was like we was at the show. I think Gorilla Black was doing the show with Trina and maybe it was Rick Ross at the time. It was like at the Music Box. This is like in like 07, like 08 or something like that. So we was all out there thick, you know what I mean? Like every crew was out there at the time with like TDE and Blue Division, you know, so everybody showed up thick, you know. And I remember K-Dot had ran up to me, but I didn't know who he was at the time, and he was telling J-Rock like, hey, look, that's one of the essays that I told you that I seen him on World Star Hip Hop. He was with Gorilla Black in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, like what up, you know? So we vibed out like that, you know?
Yeah.
And so every time I would see Dot, like after that, because years later I would still see him before like all the crazy shit happened, you know?
Yeah.
And it was always cordial and cool, you know? They always showed love, so.
That's dope.
I still with Gorilla Black maybe about 2.5 years, you know what I mean? And you know, it was cool, man. They showed me a lot of love, you know what I mean? We eventually fell out, but just, you know, it ain't worth talking about on that level, but you know, it was cool, man. I learned a lot from them. They showed me a lot of respect. I did a lot of things with them, you know what I'm saying? And I respect what they did for me, so
dope.
You know, it just is on that level, you know what I'm saying?
And dope. And then so then from then on, how did you get with Glasses?
Well, after I left Dollar Figure, I didn't really know what I was gonna do, because see, that's the thing, right? Like, I think a lot of artists right away they say, well, I want to go tag on to this rapper, or I want this rapper to sign me because he's on and he got shit going on, you know what I'm saying? And you know, for the most part, that's that rapper that has shit going on.
Right.
So you got to think, like, I met a lot of DJs, I met a lot of rappers that were on at the time, and I built relationships with them. So when I left Black, I was still able to chop it up with them and vibe with them and shit like that, you know, from just building relationships. But you know, without that, like, because when it was all said and done and I wasn't with Black no more, all the free entries ended, you know, all the backstage shit ended. And then you become the artist and you have to go on that journey. You feel what I'm saying?
Right. Oh yeah.
And then so it was like starting from scratch, you know what I mean? And just getting out there trying to get people to hear my tapes. And some people knew me, but then they kind of knew that I wasn't fucking with Black no more, so they don't want to get involved, so they kind of not really rocking with you like that. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. It's the way the game goes. So you know, I said, fuck it, we just go back to the essence. And I started just really pushing music into my community, to the Mexican community, just pushing my brand of hip hop to them. Because, you know, with the Mexican community and their hip hop scene, it's a little different, and it's kind of in a transition right now from traditional to like current day, you know?
Yeah.
And
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I always had that modern sound, I guess you could say, or that revolutionary sound in that market.
Yeah.
So I just started feeding them that constantly, you know, and you know, eventually I ran into Glasses, and you know, from meeting Glasses, he was always embraced me from the beginning, and you know, when I seen him again, he wanted to know what I was doing and shit, and I told him, you know, shit was a little slow and all that, and he was like, man, you should just come down to my studio and shit, and he had a studio in Long Beach at the time, and he was like talking about how he was gonna leave Cash Money and all that, and he was gonna build his team back up. So I said, all right, I'm gonna go slide over there to go fuck with you. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like another little scenario where it was like, you know, it was Glasses, it was DJ Head, Alcatraz, a couple heads. So, you know, you kind of, and my boy Quiz. So you just kind of gotta kind of reiterate yourself into that vibe. You know what I mean? And so they kind of testing you out, I guess. So, you know, once again, you know, I'm solid. So, you know, I became a part of that family. You know what I'm saying? And so I ran with Glasses probably like another 5 years.
Dope. Now, as you were speaking about like the styles, like the different styles basically in like Latino hip hop and then basically traditional hip hop, where you say you get your style from? Because I noticed you bounce on that motherfucker, you do different things on there, and like you said, it's a little different. Like where you think you would pull yours from?
Just from listening to just hip hop, period. You know what I mean? Just being a student of the game, like since early, like just listening to hip hop.
It's very comfortable, your sound. It's very you sound very comfortable with where you at. You know.
Well, you know, you got to think too. Like I've been around big, you know, some of the biggest West Coast people out here. I've rhymed with them. You know, I got songs with J-Rock. I got songs with Glasses, a bunch of them. Like I've rhymed with some of the biggest dudes. You know what I'm saying?
Dope.
So I've been tested, I guess, in that sense. You know.
Dope. And that's good. And see, that's dope to hear in hip hop in today's day, in hip hop, that they need to know that. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was testing niggas that had to go through. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
for sure. You know, you got to think like it was never easy for me off the rip. You know, because with a lot of people. And I think it's hurt my career in some sense on the Mexican side, is that I didn't come in like a traditional Mexican rapper in that scene. I kind of came in with black artists. So just off the rip, I kind of was never accepted in that market. And then over here, I'm always in question of like, well, who is this dude? You know, he don't necessarily come from where we come from. And he say he rap, like, well, what is he talking about? You know what I'm saying? So it was always a point of me having to just show my skills and show people that I deserve to have the respect that I could say that right now I have a lot of respect in the street and in the game as far as being a rapper, just being a man, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, you know, it was just about always having to be on your toes and having verses, or just always being doubted, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe, you know, people fucking with you, but they not necessarily fucking with you, you know what I mean? They might just be fucking with you, but they not really supporting your music like that because they just don't identify with you off the top, you know what I'm saying? So it was always a struggle to show and prove more like tenfold, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, off top. And keeping in your career right now, like what are you pressing a single right now, working on a project, or what?
Yeah, I have an album, that's actually why, you know, we got an album called The Architect.
Okay.
And it's already done. What I did is I recorded a second EP called Crack House Soul, and I'm gonna put that out probably about a week after I release the album. You know what I mean? Because the album I did it under Mr. Criminal label, and so it's tied up with that label scenario. You know what I'm saying? Because it's you know, I'm signed to his label.
Okay.
And then I got my own situation because I have my own personal imprint. So I put my own music out that I fund out of my own pocket. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I was gonna go to next. So what's the name? What's your label? What's the name of your?
It's called It's the First Music Group.
It's the First Music Group.
Yeah.
And who signed? Do you have any?
Yeah, I have Young Note is signed to my label.
Young Note. Now that's dope. That's dope because it's like how you just spoke about you being Latino and rapping with black artists and being, you know, signed over there, and now you are signed to a Latino artist and you have your own label and you signed a black artist.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That's just dope. You know what I mean? That's not even really a question. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, nah, I mean, you know, I think a lot of, you know, this is my thing on that scenario, right? Like, I know a lot of people, they like to say, oh, well, there needs to be unity in this, or, you know, and they kind of want to advertise unity, when I feel like if you unify, then you just are, and you move as such, you feel me? Like, because I don't think not one race of people want to be used like as a catchphrase. It's like, oh, we unifying with these people, you know, like let's be cool with these people. It's just like, yo, if you with it, you with it. If you're not, you're not. You know what I'm saying? But for me, it's like I don't necessarily see like all the color shit. You dig what I'm saying? Like, and as cliche as that may seem, you know what I mean? It just is. You know, I grew up around blacks my whole life. You know what I'm saying? And so it's not it's not out of the norm for me to see like a Mexican dude with a black girl, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So.
Now, and speaking of your label and Young Note, that's an interesting story as well. We tackled it a little bit about when I interviewed Young Note, but just speak about him, about an artist. Like, what did you see in him that day that you met him when he was 14? Like what did you say that said?
You know, when I first seen Young Note, we was at the Copacabana Club in Long Beach, and who was there? Glasses was there. He was performing that night. Hot Dollar was performing. It was a couple of the New West guys was performing. And Young No brother Sean, I don't really remember how he looked back then, because it was, we talking about like 07 or 08 or some shit, you know, and I was off the Patron heavy back then.
Yeah.
But I do remember them though, you know. I remember Sean and all them, and I remember him bringing his brother to me, which was Note. Back then, young Note was a lot thinner. He looked like a little tall, thin kid, you know. And you know, we all, you know, with Black, there was a lot of shit going on there, you know, without having to say anything. So we had a lot of jewelry, we had everything, you know, we was looking right, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, he started spitting for me, and the shit was like, I was like, oh shit, this kid sounds like a fucking grown man, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I told him like, hey, this is my number, call me, and when you call me, I'm gonna bring you over here to go see somebody. So it just so happened that he lived like down the street from Gorilla Black's shop. Gorilla Black used to have a barber shop, I think it was on Rosecrans and Prairie. So Note lived like maybe 2 blocks down off of Prairie, right? So the first day I went to go pick him up, I remember I had a Benz and shit, cause I always be in Benz and shit like that, just for you rap niggas, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, I met his moms and shit, you know what I'm saying? And I remember her telling me like, you know, just look out for him. If you're gonna help him, then take care of him. So yeah, I took him down there to go meet Gorilla Black, and I brought Ill Will, and you know, Ill Will heard him and was like, man, this kid is something, right? You know what I'm saying? He got something going on. So I took him to Gorilla Black, and then, you know, they were feeling him, you know, and they voted him into that camp. And I remember I took him down to the studio. He maybe recorded like 1 song, and then, you know, I know he had like little family issues and shit. They were having some things going on, so he ended up moving. And then I didn't see him again. And then I was in Atlanta the last year. I shot a video out there. I had to go do an interview, and he just reached out to me, you know, and he hit me like, hey, you remember who I am? And I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah, what's up? You know, how you been and shit? And we just started communicating from there. And then you know, he was seeing like little things I've been doing and shit like that. So then I told him, you know, I was like, you know what you got going on and shit like that. So he came down with his pops, and we just figured it out. And I told him, well, you know, I just manage you, and, you know, I got my little label, so just represent it, and you know, whatever I could do for you, we'll see what we can do. So it's been a little less than 6 months. I think he's doing all right now.
Yeah. You know what dope. Oh yeah. Okay. So you got back with him about 6 months ago?
It's probably a little bit longer by now.
Okay.
Maybe about like 8 months. Yeah. It hasn't been a year yet.
His videos is doing some shit too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. I fucks with that, man. I fucks with y'all. That's what's up. We spoke a lot about your life story growing up. If this is a question I like to ask. If you could speak to young Annimeanz, 11, 12-year-old Annimeanz when he was running the shit. But I'm just saying, whatever you say to him ain't gonna change shit in his life. He's still gonna live that same life every day. Like, what would you kind of tell him just to prepare him what would you want him to know?
I think you know, as a man, you just gotta stand strong. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is that you're doing, you gotta stand by that till you go down in flames with it. You know, you gotta stand for something. You know what I mean? If you don't stand for something, then who are you for real? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's the main thing that I learned in my journey from being a kid in the street to being a man, is that your word has to be everything. You know what I'm saying? You have to be solid like that. That real no snitching shit for real is real. You know what I'm saying? Like my pops, that's probably like one of the first lessons my pops ever taught me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And it just, yeah, man, if you out here like that and you living that life, then you just gotta be who you say you are, man. You know what I mean? Because you're gonna get a lot farther, believe it or not, being solid than you ever would be being a weirdo. You know what I'm saying? And a backstabber and all that. Because sometimes people do get to the top by doing all that. But without a foundation, no building could stand. You dig what I'm saying? So eventually all that shit gonna come crushing down. But when you a solid individual and you exactly who you say you are and people know that, then you always gonna be alright. You know what I'm saying?
The cliche question I usually ask is, what would you be doing if not music? But I think what I'm trying to ask you is, did you ever think you had any other passions or anything?
Nah, man, I never did. You know, I never really thought, aside from just enjoying music, I never really knew it was a passion to that extent. You know what I'm saying? you know, I'll be 100 just to be all the way solid. You know, I didn't really know what I was gonna do when I came home. You know, I got 2 strikes, and I'll be all the way 1,000 with you. I assumed that I was probably gonna get out, and I was gonna eventually get a 3rd strike. You know, like I really thought that in my mind. Like, well, I guess I'll just go back to the hood and move some rock real quick until I get knocked or fucking something happens. You know, because that's just really, you know, and not to sound like extra on it, but that's just really what
So
that's what was in store. You know what I'm saying?
So the rap game, so it saved your life basically.
Yeah, I could definitely say that, like, wholeheartedly. Like it you know, because once I got involved in it, just the atmosphere and the vibe and the creative people that you meet, and the different personalities, and you know, I've been all around the country through music now. You know what I mean? From, you know, I've been in hoods that are real. You know, and I've seen that side of life. Just music did that for me. You know, took me places I never imagined I would go.
Yeah. We spoke a little bit about the project, The Architect. First of all, why'd you name it that?
You know, really, honestly, I named it that because I felt like, without trying to say, oh, all this, I feel like I was part of the first wave of Chicano artists that was creating music like that. Okay. You know, I wasn't the only one. There was people like Omar Cruz. He was signed to Interscope Records. People like Sonny Blue from Smooth Hustle, Z Guns. Who else? It just wasn't too many of us, you know. So if I forget y'all names, y'all know that I got who else? Rob's the One from the Valley. Just certain little pockets of Chicano artists or Hispanic artists that were making, you know, commercially viable hip hop, I guess you could say.
Right, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And you know, now current day, when you go onto the Latin Beast and you go on that, it's like everybody sounds like us. And you know, when we were sounding like us back then, you know, the older artists, without saying too many names, they was downplaying it, and they was closing doors, and they was taking plugs, and they were saying certain things about us, you feel me?
Yeah.
And now current day, you know, when I go on the Latin Beast, or I look on, you know, when I see people like Swifty Blue, I say, damn, like, that was us back then, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't cool, but now it's cool for these dudes to do that. So, you know, I feel somewhat responsible for it. You know, even if people don't want to give me that props, I know what we did out here, and I know, you know, I know my story. Yeah. And people know it too, so
Swifty Blue, that's that youngster.
I definitely got a stake in it, I could say that, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, on top. Who handled the production of it?
Who I got on there? I got DJ Official on there. I got Big Boo the Beat Junkies on there. I got who else? I got Tommy Guns is on there.
Okay.
Mike D Exclusive. I got him on there.
You be having some shit on your shit.
Yeah. I think there's a record with Al Fingers on there.
So Al Fingers, yeah.
You know, I got a couple little joints. You know
okay. Any features? Any features on the album?
You know what? Right now, I'm just focused on featuring my camp. So you hear a lot of Young Notes on there.
Okay.
My boy Andrew John, he's another artist on my label. He's on there heavy, like 3 songs.
Okay.
My boy Big Sick Nasty, he's another artist on my label. And you know, really just about promoting they music to the world too. You know.
Okay.
Cause for what little distribution I got and shit like that, so just give them some shine on it too. You know what I'm saying? And
what kind of project would you say it is? Is it like
I would say it's a I say it's a dark project. It's a dark street project. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It ain't real heavy on the banging, but it's real heavy on the just
like mob music
involvement of the street life.
Dope interview, man. Dope interview. I appreciate you, bro. Classic question, man, before we get up out of here, man. This my cliche classic one, man. Your top 5 dead or alive. Who's in Annimeanz top 5? I want to hear this too, cause we got a hip hop history. I'm gonna say
Nas is number 1. Then I go with Prodigy from Mobb Deep. Damn, let me see who else. Cause I'm not necessarily a Jay fan, but I mean I still got to give it up for him. But I don't fuck with Jay like that.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. I hold it personal with rappers. It's like if I fuck with a rapper and then another motherfucker ain't fucking with him, I ain't fucking with him. You know what I'm saying? So, man, but I would definitely say, I would say maybe Corrupt. Definitely Corrupt is in there. For top 5, let me Tupac, obviously Pac, Big, and I guess we throw Jay in there for good measure.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But,
a little 6 man is good.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But
all time.
But Jay ain't in there by default. You know what I mean? Because he don't, you know, the Nas battle. I never forgave him. You know?
I like that. All time.
Straight up.
Where can they find you?
Everywhere, man. Annimeanz, and it's ANNIMEANZ. Follow me everywhere. Hit me up on social media. I'm real vocal with the fans, man. If you reach out, I reach right back out to you. We give away free merchandise. Got a clothing company called American Dope Boys, so y'all can pick up hoodies, t-shirts, and just support the movement, man. Likes, all that shit counts. I want to say we're gonna be in New Mexico next month. We doing a show, so you know, if you supporting us, keep supporting us. If you're not, come fuck with us now. We're gonna make sure you get free merchandise. Put out a lot of good music, and you know, you're gonna get that how do you say that that first hand view of what we do. You know, we're very vocal with the fans and all that. So.
All time. There it is.